The number did not look like a mistake. It looked like a hole. Nora Hale stood at a bank counter in ordinary daylight, a printed statement shaking once in her fingers before she forced it still. Columns, dates, withdrawals stacked like footsteps walking away from two aging parents. Money that should have been care and medicine and a quiet room with a window. Instead, the balance had been cut open and emptied past anything that could still be called security. More than $400,000 gone from accounts that were never supposed to be a private playground. The clerk asked if she needed a moment. Nora said no. Moments were what you took when you still trusted the person who held the keys. She turned the page. Another transfer. Another date that landed while she had been driving to the care home with soup and clean socks, and the stupid faith that her brother was handling the hard adult parts. She did not cry. Not yet. Tears were a luxury for people who still believed the story they had been told. Someone with legal power had already decided what the family money was for, and the person holding that power was her brother. 2 days earlier, Derek had said it like weather. They were in his kitchen, same coffee maker, same calm voice he used when he wanted a room to stop arguing with him. Mom and Dad were out of money, he told her. The care bills had eaten everything. The house would have to be sold. It was the only responsible thing left. He had run the options. He had done the math. He needed her to stop making this emotional. He slid a set of keys across the table, as if he were being helpful. Near his elbow sat draft listing language, already tasting like goodbye. A lockbox, he said, would go up soon. Better to move fast before the market softened. Better to be adults. Nora watched his face. Reasonable, patient, almost kind. That was the part that bothered her. Their parents had gone into assisted living financially secure. She had sat at a different table then, with statements that still had weight. She had believed the plan. Derek had the papers. Derek paid the bills. Derek said he had it handled. For months she had sent thank you texts like a person renting peace of mind. Now he was talking like the floor had vanished overnight. Nora asked for the recent statements. Derek said he would gather them when he had time. Nora said she wanted them this week. Derek smiled the way people smile when they expect you to sit down and become manageable. She did not sit down. She left his kitchen with the sound of his reasonableness still stuck to her coat, and the first clean suspicion finally sharp enough to cut. This did not happen in a myth. It happened in recent years, in an ordinary Midwest suburb. The kind of street where the houses look finished from the outside and the real fights happen in paper. At the care home, Ellen Hale sat by a window in a lavender cardigan, silver hair neat, wedding band thin on a hand that had once run a household without asking permission from either of her children. The room was small and clean, a card from a neighbor, a photo of the old porch, a blanket Nora recognized from winters that predated any binder. Nora kissed her temple. Ellen asked about the garden at the old house, as if the old house were still a place that belonged to all of them. Nora said it was fine. She did not say lockbox. She did not say listing. She did not say 400,000. Ellen asked if Derek had visited. Nora said he was busy with the accounts. Ellen nodded, satisfied by the word accounts, the way parents can be satisfied by a son sounding official. Down the hall, soft shoes moved on polished floor, staff voices, ordinary mercy, a cartwheel that squeaked every third rotation. Nora looked at her mother and understood the shape of the theft, even before she had every line item. This money was not abstract. It was supposed to buy time, dignity, a room with light, a few more seasons of Ellen asking about flowers. Someone had been spending the future out from under her while she still trusted the name on the paperwork. In the parking lot, Nora sat in her car with both hands on the wheel and made a list on her phone that was not a feelings list. Bank, portal, lawyer, house, dates. Then she drove. The keys to that future had been handed over cleanly. Months earlier, when their parents' health first turned, the family did what modern families do when fear arrives in medical language. They made Derek the one on the documents, power of attorney, trustee authority, a thick binder that made the chaos look organized. There had been a table that smelled like coffee and hand sanitizer, aged hands, Initials, a notary stamp. Derek's palm settling on the binder, as if it were already both his burden and his right. Ellen signed because she was tired, and because her son used the word simple. Frank signed because Ellen did. Nora initialed where she was told the process needed a witness of family unity. Nobody read every paragraph like a person expecting war. Derek spoke in practical sentences. Bill pay. Continuity. One point of contact, so the bank did not get confused. He would send updates. He would keep receipts. He would not let mom and dad fall through cracks. Nora had wanted a brother who could handle forms while she handled visits and night calls and the long quiet of decline. She told herself concentration of power was efficiency. She did not yet know efficiency was the costume control war when it wanted applause. Derek left that day with the binder under his arm. From then on, the accounts answered to him, the mail bent toward him, the institutions learned one voice, and the family map redrew itself around a man who smiled when he said he was only helping. Before the papers cooled, there had been a promise. "We will take care of them together," Derek had said on the porch of the old house. Dusk turning the siding the color of old receipts. "You do the days, I will do the money. No surprises. If anything big moves, you hear it first." Nora had believed him because she needed to. Because siblings always need one clean sentence they can stand on when everything else tilts. They even half-hugged, the awkward adult kind that pretends childhood is still available. For a while the sentence held, or seemed to. Derek sent occasional texts. Paid, handled, don't worry. Mom liked the new nurse. Dad slept better. The tone was competent. The tone was a lullaby for a sister who was already exhausted. Then the details thinned. Logins were only his. Statements came to his address. When Nora asked for a PDF, there was always a reason it would arrive later. The bank heard one authorized voice. The promise stayed on the table like a prop from a play nobody was performing anymore. One evening, Nora mentioned a larger care invoice she had seen referenced in passing. Derek said he had reallocated things. Temporary. He would explain when things calmed down. Things did not calm down. They only got quieter on his side of the phone. The childhood house looked smaller under gray sky. Nora parked across the street and walked to the door she had slammed as a teenager and unlocked as an adult, and never once imagined belonging to strangers with a different last name on the mail. A lockbox hung on the handle like a verdict. Tape ghost lines marked the glass where a sign could live. Derek's sale language was no longer kitchen talk. It was becoming hardware. A neighbor waved, cheerful, unaware, asking if the family was finally downsizing. Nora heard the word finally and tasted metal. She put her palm on the door. If the house went under Derek's urgency, Ellen's last map of ordinary life went with it. The porch photo in the care room would become a postcard from a country that had been sold. Nora took pictures of the lockbox, the handle, the quiet windows, not for social media, for a file that was starting to look like a case. Then she called the bank again and stopped asking politely for convenience. She asked for history. She dug the way people dig when charm has stopped working. Morning calls, hold music, password dead ends, a branch appointment, written requests with her mother's name, and the ugly legal phrases that make tellers sit up straighter. A kitchen table buried under printouts, highlighted, sticky notes with dates, transfers that hopped accounts like stones across a river. Derek's story needed a clean collapse. Secure parents, sudden poverty, forced sale, sad necessity. The paper trail did not collapse cleanly. It frayed, it snagged. It showed movement that looked less like pure care and more like a life being funded beside the care. Nora called Ruth Klein, a lawyer with a blunt bob and no interest in sibling poetry. Ruth did not tell her to breathe. Ruth told her to collect, timestamp, and stop confronting without a filing plan. Nora drove back to the bank with a folder thick enough to bruise. She was no longer asking permission to understand. She was building the kind of understanding that could survive under oath. The full size of it landed without poetry. More than $400,000, moved across months under authority Derek held alone. Patterns that did not read as pure parental care. payments and withdrawals that fed a parallel comfort, while Ellen asked about a garden she might never stand in again. Nora stood at the counter while the last pages printed. The machine was loud in a small way. Each sheet was another brick. In the car, she lined the pages on the passenger seat because the apartment table was already full. She photographed totals. She circled clusters. She wrote one sentence at the top of a legal pad, the way people write when they are done negotiating with hope. He used the papers. Then she sat in the empty kitchen with the statement spread like a crime scene that still had coffee rings on the table. One breath, one swallow, one decision. She would not win this at his stove. If he had used power of attorney as a private bridge, she would cut the bridge in public process. She texted Ruth 2 words: file it. She put the number on his table before the petition hit the clerk, because some part of her still wanted the cheaper ending, where a brother becomes human without a case number. Derek did not flinch the way guilty men flinch in movies. He performed patience. Care is expensive, he said. You were not there for every invoice. Someone had to keep the lights on. Someone had to make hard calls. Mom and Dad would have nothing if not for him running point. Nora heard the ranking inside the sentences. He was the adult, she was the visitor, with feelings and printouts. She turned pages. She named dates. She asked about transfers that did not match the care home story. He talked around them. He talked above them. He talked as if the binder still made him the narrator of reality. He accused her of attacking him while their parents were vulnerable. He said lawyers would burn what little remained. He said family does not do this. Nora said family did this the moment the accounts became his private weather system. When she left, the door shut hard enough to rattle a glass. Behind her, the statement stayed on his table like a guest he refused to feed. In the car, her hands shook once, then stopped. The soft ending had refused to arrive. Good. Soft endings were how the money disappeared. The courthouse steps were ordinary concrete under a pale sky. Inside, ordinary fluorescent light, a clerk counter, a petition packet with language that did not care about tree houses or shared birthdays. Remove Derek Hale as power of attorney. Remove him as trustee. Inventory and protect. Stop the bleed. Ruth Klein put a finger on the signature line and did not offer comfort speeches. She asked if Nora understood this would harden the family into camps. Nora said the camps were already built. One of them had a binder. The other had a care home parking pass and a stack of statements. She signed. A stamp hit paper. A case number appeared like a scar that could also be a tool. The fight left the kitchen and entered a system that could take authority out of a man's hands, whether he smiled or not. On the steps outside, Nora exhaled once and called the care home to make sure Ellen still had what she needed for the week. Practical, immediate, the opposite of Derek's speeches about hard calls. Derek still had access today. He would not keep the story unchallenged through another quiet month. Formal rooms stripped charm. Blinds cut the light into bars across a conference table. A recorder, a legal pad, water sweating in a plastic cup. The soft violence of scheduled time. Derek sat where confident men sit until questions arrive with dates attached. What was withdrawn? When? For whom? Under what authority? What benefited the parents? What benefited him? What documents he had refused to share? What sale he had pushed while calling poverty a sudden weather event? He answered, he delayed, he narrowed, he reached for care costs like a shield that had worked at kitchen tables. The shield thinned under exhibits. Nora watched from the edge of the process when she was allowed, jaw set, saying almost nothing, because the point was no longer to persuade her brother. The point was to build a record dense enough that a judge could end the reign without needing a family sermon. Under pressure, Derek's salesman mouth worked harder. The binder, once a crown, became evidence of how much power had sat in one pair of hands. Judgment does not arrive like lightning. It arrives like a document. In a small hearing room that smelled of dust and winter coats, the order landed in plain administrative English. Derek Hale was removed as power of attorney, removed as trustee of the family trust. Authority shifted. The bleed had a tourniquet. The words were dry. The effect was total. Power left his hands. Nora did not grin. Victory in a family is rarely clean enough for grinning. She only felt the floor return under her feet, thin and cold and real. Ruth touched her elbow once. Professional, not maternal. Derek went still in a way that was not peace. Stillness, like a man watching a door close from the wrong side. In the corridor, the thick binder no longer traveled under his arm like a crown. Staff moved past with files for strangers. The building did not care that 2 children had shared a bathroom sink 30 years ago. Paper had made him king of the accounts. Paper ended the rain. Nora walked out into daylight that felt too bright for the size of what had just happened, and for a moment she hated that the wind could not restore a single transferred dollar by magic. Then she checked the next practical thing on her list, because that was how you kept a win from becoming only a feeling. Ellen did not live forever after the order. No story like this ends with a restored childhood and a repaired brother. There was a brief last chapter of care, soft and specific, and not for spectacle. Hands, a window, a cardigan, the ordinary holy work of showing up after the paperwork wore. There was a house that still stood under night weather, neither fully sold nor fully innocent. Keys that finally answered to a process wider than one brother's will. There were calls with banks that now required more than Derek's confidence. There were silences in family threads where jokes used to live. Nora blocked his number, not as theater, as boundary, as the cost of winning a fight nobody should have had to file. She did not write a speech. She did not leave a door cracked for the old lullaby of "Don't worry, I handled it." She had taken back the papers. She had not taken back the brother. On the dark porch of the house they were born into, the air held no monologue about forgiveness, only the fact of what had been done, what had been proven, and what would never be casually trusted again. The secret of the drained accounts had kept Derek comfortable. The rest of them carried the fallout. Nora turned from the door and walked into the ordinary night with the binder's ghost closed behind her. She did not look back to see if he was still trying to smile. In family stories, the ending is not always justice with a bow. Sometimes the ending is simpler and harder. The wrong hands lost the keys, and the right hands learned what the keys had cost.